guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to apply cane slices to beads, and I will also be showing you how to slice canes. So for today I'm going to be using this rose cane, and if your cane has been sitting around a little while, you can just gently roll it a little bit to warm it up, just to get it moving a little bit. You don't want it to be completely stiff. But don't warm it up too much if you're going to slice it, because it's good to have had it rest. So that one's warmed up just a touch. So now I'm going to grab my blade, and if you're doing this at home, you will always slice towards yourself so that you can see exactly what you are doing. I like to rotate when I'm doing this. Always slice towards yourself so you can see what you're doing. Generally on camera I will either slice this way or that way so that you can see what I am doing, but if you're doing it at home and there's no one watching you, it is better to do it this way, because then you can see. You can see how thick your slice is, you can gauge how well you're doing, because sometimes you can't see if you're slicing too thin or too thick, and you can make adjustments. So that's how you would slice a cane. Now let's just grab a piece of pearl white, and I'm just going to roll that into a bead. And all you're going to do is just try and get that nice and round. There we go. And then all you do is you will take your canes and place them on. And when you're doing this, you want your cane to be a minimum of 1 millimeter thick, thinner if you can. Place it on your bead, and then try and bend it around so that these edges, if you can see those, are on the outside, and then just pull it down towards the bead so that you're folding the cane slice over those edges so that they won't show up, and you'll get a nice clean slice. And now your bead is going to get distorted during this process. So I'll place that back down again over the bead, and again pull down around the edges so that you get a nice clean finish. Okay, and you can join as many of these as you want. Just apply them nicely, and it's very easy to apply. Just always pull down those edges, even if they are overlapping like they are there. You want to always pull down those edges so that you get a nice clean image of your cane. Okay, and then just go and roll that in your hands again. And generally you want to do this with gloves, because then you will be avoiding fingerprints. So if you're going to roll this and then you're going to pop it in the oven, I would do it with gloves on, because then you don't have to do any sanding. But there we are, you should now have a nice smooth bead with nice pieces of canes on it. So that is how you easily put cane slices on a bead. Now I also want to show you how to join cane slices together using a kaleidoscope, and I will also show you with the roses as well. So I'm going to show you how to do it with a square and then a round cane. So first, with a square, you always want to make sure that you're squaring it up. You want it to be nice and warm. This one's also been resting around. It's always good to rest your canes for at least an hour before you cut them. I generally would like to leave them a day if I can. This one's actually been sitting around for a few months. And canes, if you store them alright, in a nice cool area in a closed plastic bag that is compatible with polymer clay, you should be able to store them for quite a while. And now the first slice generally isn't going to be a good one, because you're slicing it and making it nice and clean, but after that you should be able to get a whole bunch of slices. And try to keep them even with each other if you can, and that's harder to do than you would think, and so it does take practice, and also take it slowly, you can't rush this sort of thing. And also, hopefully you've noticed that I am rotating my cane every time I slice. This is so that I keep it nice and square, because if I don't do that, the clay gets squished and it will slowly turn into a rectangle. But once you get your rhythm, you can cut each one pretty consistently, all the way down to your end. Okay, and then since these are kaleidoscopes, I'm going to take the ones that didn't turn out so well, like the end and the first one that I cut after the end. And then all of these are pretty much the same height, same thickness, and I'm going to join them together. Okay. I'm going to try and line them up as best I can too. And this is why having it the right thickness is so important. Because you can't put through your pasta machine to get them all the same thickness, because then you will distort your cane. Okay, let me see if I can get one more slice out of this. There we go. Okay, I'll just pop that on. And you can see that that would make quite a pretty bracelet. Okay, and then I like to use my cane just to square it up. Okay, and then you will grab again a piece of wax paper and burnish. Of all of the things that I could probably not do without, apart from the normal tools that you get, like a oven and a tissue blade and a roller, the greaseproof paper is one of the most important tools I have, because it really works for so many things. Okay, and what we're doing now is we're just joining all of those cane slices together without using a roller or a rolling technique, which would start to flatten it out and distort the slices. Now we're just pushing them together. And this cane is fairly old, so it's fairly stiff. So you can see even with old canes it works pretty well. Okay. I'm just slicing off those edges because they generally do get a little distorted. And I generally like to use the back side with this, because the front side, because they're not all going to be the exact same thickness, might be a little bumpy. But the back side generally looks really, really nice. So you can see that would make a beautiful bracelet. So that is how you join together square canes. Now I want to show you how to join together round canes without putting them on top of each other. So let me just bring over some of those. So I've got this one and this one, and I think this is a different size now. Here we are. I'm just going to use 3 different sizes of round cane. Okay, and again we'll just slice them. Okay, so they're all cut out. Now we want to start planning our veneer. Okay, and they all should be about the same thickness. Okay, so now you're just going to take it and you're going to place it over, and usually you would then put another one and they would all overlap. But what you can do if you don't want that is you can overlap it and then roughly trim out that area and then insert. Then repeat with the next one. We'll just pop it over there. And don't press down too hard, you want to be careful. And this doesn't work if your cane is too soft, so if you're going to do this, I would let it rest a day before you do it, because otherwise it's too soft. Okay. And then you can insert your piece. And I'll just continue doing that with all of these. until I've got somewhat of a veneer. But you can see how quick it is. It's obviously not as quick as just overlapping them, but if you for any particular reason did not want them to overlap, this is a great way to avoid overlaps, because the overlaps can distort the cane somewhat. There we are, easy peasy. So I'll just continue. Okay, and so here is a small version of the veneer you would make. Then just grab a piece of wax paper and again burnish. And so that is how you work with cane slices to form them into different shapes. So you can pop them onto beads very easily. You can put them into veneers very easily. You can join them together as squares or as hexagons, or even triangles will join together quite well. Shapes like rounds or ovals, you will need to probably do this technique, or you can just overlap them and then burnish them. But this gives you a nice seamless, no distortion effect. Okay. And the important thing to remember is when you are doing the veneers, you want to be using thick-ish slices with a minimum of about 0.5 millimeter thick. So that's quite important for when you're doing the veneers. And then when you are applying canes to a bead like this one, you want it to be a minimum of 1 millimeter. A maximum of 1 millimeter. Any thinner than 1 millimeter is great. The thinner you can get it, the better for the bead. Where it is the opposite for the veneers, you want it to keep it at least a minimum of 0.5 millimeter thick, ideally 1 millimeter thick. So that is it for today's tutorial. I hope that you enjoyed it and that it has provided some useful tips for you, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.